Good morning. Welcome to the worship service of the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Monterey Peninsula. My name is Mibs McCarthy, and I am currently serving as our church's Program Council moderator, and as such, I am a member of the Board of Trustees. We are a congregation of people of different ages, races, classes, cultures, religious beliefs, sexual orientations, gender identities, and political views. Our purpose is to change our own lives, even as we work to change the world around us through love, learning, and service to others. We acknowledge and honor that we gather on the land sacred to the Ohlone, Esselen, Rumsen, Mutsun, and Salinan indigenous peoples and First Nations. We recognize this not for our own comfort, but to remind us of the need to continue the work to reconcile and repair the harms of oppression and colonization. If you are a visitor here today, if you're comfortable doing so, we invite you to raise your hand so we can welcome you. Welcome. You are also welcome to fill out a yellow visitor card, which is available in the welcome hall. If you're a Zoom visitor, please fill out our virtual visitor card. You can find the link in the Zoom chat box. You are also welcome to introduce yourself in the chat. Today's service is entitled, What's Love Got to Do with It? And is led by Reverend Elaine Gehrman and Worship Associate Ray Kreis. Our greeters this morning are Gretchen Hausman and Carlene Whittlesley. Our ushers are Lauren Keenan and Susanna Schmidt. Thanks to you all for your participation and contributions to our service this morning. Our long-awaited landscaping and ADA compliance improvement project on our church grounds has begun. The heavy rains of December and January delayed our start a bit, but now the project is going full speed ahead. A few parking spaces along the driveway will be used for staging materials during the project, which is expected to last approximately 2.5 months. The RE department is currently looking for some on-call nursery volunteers to assist in the nursery when babies or toddlers arrive at UUCMP on Sundays. If you are interested, please contact Acting DRE Sharon Ruth. We begin our welcome at each Sunday's service acknowledging we gather upon land sacred to the indigenous peoples of our area. To deepen our understanding of this important fact, the UUCMP Social Justice Committee and Whites for Racial Equity invite you to a land acknowledgement conversation with special guest Louise Miranda Ramirez, Tribal Chairwoman of the Ohlone Costanoan Esselen Nation, on Saturday, February 25th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. here at UUCMP. For more information, contact Karen Brown. More details about all these items can be found in our weekly e-newsletter and on our website. This month's shared offering recipient is the Black Leaders and Allies Collaborative. This organization facilitates connection, dialogue, and cooperation among Black leaders, anti-racist allies, change-making organizations, and concerned individuals in Monterey County to build collaborative relations and deepen the impact of anti-racist initiatives. Today's cash offering and checks made out to UUCMP with BLAAC in the memo line will benefit this important organization. And now Bia Stengo will present a stewardship testimonial.
Good morning. I moved to California in May of 2013. Alan and I drove across the country in a 22-foot U-Haul, towing my Hyundai SUV on a trailer. The journey was, at times, nerve-wracking. Alan helped me unpack and settle in, and after a few days, I drove him to the San Jose airport, and he flew back to Florida. I was alone and very lonely. I didn't know anybody here. I moved here basically on a whim. not my whim, but my daughter's. She really wanted to move to California and found me the application for the job where I still work. Every time I had visited California, I loved it. So I saw this move as a midlife adventure. Alan, who moved here 11 months later, reminded me that we always had a fallback plan. We could move back to Florida, where I had family and community. In my search for a community here, I looked for a church. I grew up Catholic with a strong religious upbringing, so God and church community are part of my DNA. I found UUCMP serendipitously. I was not a Unitarian before moving here, and in fact, my experience with the Unitarian Fellowship in Gainesville, Florida was not positive. But my first time at UUCMP, the message spoke to me. John Burens was the interim minister at the time, and as many of you know, he's an impressive and inspired preacher. I don't remember what he said, but I remember it was exactly what I needed to hear on that lonely Sunday, and I felt better. It was obviously divine intervention, because even though I sat at the back of the room by myself, someone, Lynn Powers, came up to me afterwards to introduce herself and welcome me. She then proceeded to look for the other librarians in the church and introduce me to all of them. It was awesome. I kept coming back for the message. The sermons fit well with my belief system. Another church member, Carol Meyer, approached me to suggest that I get more involved and join a committee. I started by becoming an usher, a low-level commitment that just required showing up. Pretty soon, I got very involved, attending after-church meetings, joining other committees, joining the board, then the choir, then a chalice circle. Now I'm a regular church lady. After my job and my family, church takes up the next biggest space in my life. I was never able to get my daughter involved in the church. She was 15 when we moved here and a hardcore anti-churcher, but I found community for myself. When we talk about love languages, mine are acts of service, quality time, and words of affirmation. I'm terrible at gift giving and do not much like getting gifts either. But I've had to become multilingual, as Ann Jacobson mentioned in her reflection a couple of weeks ago, because the people I love have different love languages. Alan loves giving gifts, and he also likes getting them. My church loves getting gifts too, in the form of pledge money, and acts of service too, like in serving on a committee. So I do my best to love this church in a language that it understands, deserves, and appreciates, because I want this place to be here for another person who may need it. I'm happy it was here when I needed it, and I'm happy it's still here for me. Pay it forward, and please give generously.
Thanks, Bea. Now we invite those of you in the sanctuary to turn and wave to the people on Zoom. And now please take a few moments to greet the people around you. To be continued after the service. As we enter into a spirit of contemplation and worship, we ask that you please hold your applause until the end of our service, and now please enjoy our prelude.
Think of your fellow man, lend him a helping hand, put a little love in your heart. You see it's getting late, so please don't hesitate, put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place, and the world will be a better place for you and me. You just wait and see. Another day goes by and still the children cry. Put a little love in your heart. If you want the world to know we won't let hatred grow, put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place, and the world will be a better place for you and me. You just wait and see. Wait and see. Take a good look around, and if you're looking down, put a little love in your heart. I hope when you decide kindness will be your guide, put a little love in your heart, and the world will be a better place, and the world will be a better place for you and me. You just wait and see. Come on and put a little love in your heart. You've got to put a little love in your heart. Come on and put a little love in your heart. It's up to you. Put a little love in your heart. Why don't you put a little love in your heart? You've got to put a little love in your heart. There is no other way. Put a little love in your heart. It's up to you. Put a little love in your heart.
Awesome, thank you. For our call to worship this morning, we have words by the Reverend Monica Jacobson Tennyson. The heart of our faith. What is it that calls you here, that calls you onward, that calls you inward, that leads you homeward? What is it that gives you the power to make that change, to ask that question, to take that journey? What is it that says you have done well, that asks you to learn more, that brings you to stillness, that holds you up in hard times? It is relationship, the beating heart of our faith. It begins when we share this hour, our truths, this air, our hearts. Come, let us worship together. I invite you to rise in body or spirit for our gathering song. And once again, we're going to sing it 3 times. First time, envisioning someone that you find easy to love. Second time, envisioning someone you find harder to love. Third time, sing it to both of them together. Thanks.
I love everybody. I love everybody. I love everybody in my heart. I love everybody. I love everybody.
keep wondering who you're all picturing during that song. I think it's hard. I don't know. I did it, but it's hard. All right, with Unitarian Universalists around the world, we light our chalice, a symbol of our faith and our covenanted aspirations of love, hope, and justice. I'll begin, and please join in the response as Julian lights the flame. We gather together as a community of memory and hope to celebrate life and its infinite possibilities for love. We light this chalice as a symbol of the light within every human heart. May our individual sparks meet and merge, bringing both light and warmth to the world. Oh. Thank you. And now please enjoy this morning's story for all ages, based on a true story.
Our story for all ages is Love is Powerful, written by Heather Dean Brewer, illustrated by Li Yun Pham. Mari spilled her crayons onto the table. They made a messy rainbow. "What are we coloring, Mama?" she asked. Mama smiled. "A message for the world." Mari ran to the window and pressed her nose to the glass. Far below, people walked in different directions. Buses, cars, and taxis honked and grumbled down the busy street. Mari asked, "How will the whole world hear?" "They'll hear," Mama said, "because love is powerful." Mari climbed onto her Mama's lap. The crayons smelled sharp and new. Mama used one to write some letters. Even though Mama's words stretched across the poster, they would be too small for the world to read, Mari thought. Mari picked up a crayon. As she made her own sign, she imagined her friends in their apartments across the city, Grandma and Grandpa a plane ride away, and all the people in other countries. Mari wondered, how will the whole world see our message? Mama hugged her close. "They'll see," she said, "because love is powerful." Mama handed her a coat, and then they both laced up their shoes. Mari tucked the posters under one arm and held Mama's hand with the other. They slipped through the elevator doors. Down, down, down they went, all the way to the lobby. Mari hopped onto the sidewalk, then stopped and looked up. The street was packed with people, more people than she'd ever seen in her entire life. Mari tugged on Mama's arm to ask her to kneel down. Then she whispered in Mama's ear, "Mama, it's so loud, and there's so many people. They won't hear our message." Mama said, "They will, little Mari." Mama lifted Mari up, and for a moment she felt like she was flying. On top of Mama's shoulders, Mari could see the crowd swell for blocks. Hundreds and thousands, even hundreds of thousands of people marching down the street. Some held signs like Mari's, all saying different things. Everyone cheered as they walked together. Mama joined them. Mari bobbed above the crowd like a canary fluttering over trees. She felt as tall as one of the buildings. Mari raised her sign for everyone to see. Even though she was small and the crowd very big, so big she didn't think anyone would hear, she called out her message. Through the roar, her voice was heard and someone shouted the message back. Mari yelled again and more joined in. Again, she yelled the message. This time, when the crowd called back, Mari's message rumbled down the street and echoed off the buildings. It was as loud as breaking waves. Love is powerful. The end.
Now please join in our song of parting as the children and youth follow their teachers and head off to their classes.
Which was It abounds, you know. Love does. Love abounds. And it abides. Love abides. I've known love. It's come to me in many forms and in many ways. The parental love of my parents' lifelong constant care. The unconditional love of my grandmother, freely and constantly given from my first breath until her last one. From the shared love of siblings, the concerns and helps of friends in times of need, from the encouraging word of a teacher, the smile from a spiritual counselor on the occasion of my grasping a psychological breakthrough, a simple listener when I needed one, the unexpected, unsolicited help and self-giving of complete strangers when I needed it most. I seek to make love the center of my meditative daily practice, and on that basis, to practice it in some way each day. I recall each day as well how I have received love in the previous 24 hours and reflect with gratitude about that. My giving love often ends in shortcomings, but acknowledging love's receipts keeps me striving to do better and provides the ground for continued aspirations amidst the fundamental love that's needed to love outwardly, the love of myself. To me, the forms of love are several, up a ladder of increasing spiritual depth and complexity. Kindness. Kindness is its simplest form, the simple acts of kindness which lighten the load of daily stressors, whether the kindness is given or received. And then empathy, the ability to see life from someone else's point of view, to put yourself in the shoes of another. Then compassion, the strength to act upon the awareness of empathy, to help others who may need it. And finally, love itself, the abandoning of self, the emptying of selfish needs, to give oneself in selfless abandon. Each step takes increasing spiritual depth, devotion, and practice. I strive daily to increase my practice of love, and I need the companion concepts of faith and hope to progress in a positive way. Kindness and empathy are practicable for me, but finding the courage to risk for compassion and self-abandoning love takes real spiritual practice. The physicalist scientists of today point out that love, like all emotive expressions of human being and living, are the outcome of biochemical interactions in the brain. It seems to me they're correct. Not that this awareness reduces the importance of our emotions, and especially the primacy of the idea of love. I've always thought that there is a chamber in our four-chambered mammalian hearts, one each for faith and hope and justice, and finally a chamber for love. And it's the love chamber which pushes the others to keep beating, keep striving, keep risking for each of the others. The heart is a risky place, and there's no doubt that love is a risky concept. It calls us to risk ourselves, our very being, for something greater than ourselves. But the risking heart of love gleans many rewards. The formation of community, like UUCMP, the fairness of justice, and the bending of our universe towards those concepts of kindness, empathy, compassion, and self-giving love. In my meditative practice, I seek to engender the courage to risk for love in all its forms, to give love even as I receive it in so many thoughts and actions. Love abounds and cannot be extinguished by the forces of greed and violence and injustice. Love shines in every darkness, and the darkness cannot put it out. And love abides. Justice, faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love, as our flaming Unitarian Universalist chalice symbolizes. Love abides. And now arise in body or spirit for our hymn number 1029, Love Knocks and Waits for Us to Hear.
Love knocks and waits for us to hear, to open and invite. Love longs to quiet every fear and seeks to set things right. Love offers life in spite of foes who threaten and condemn. Embracing enemies, love goes the second mile with them. Love comes to heal the broken heart, to ease the troubled mind. Without a word, love bids us start to ask and seek and find. Love knocks and enters at the sound of welcome from within. Love sings and dances all around and feels new life begin.
This is the time we take each week to pause, take a few deep breaths, and reflect back on the past week. What's been happening in our lives, in the lives of the people we love and care about, and what's been happening in the world. The Caring Network, who generally shares with us birthdays under 18 and over 80, shares a joy with us this week, a joy for Kelly Keene, who's celebrating her 90th birthday on February 23rd. Yes, exactly. Please make sure to sign the card for Kelly after the service at the Caring Network table. We each bring our own joys and sorrows this morning, which are on our minds and in our hearts. We invite anyone who's so moved to come forward and drop a pebble representing your individual joys and sorrows into our shared waters of love and support. If you're joining on Zoom, you can write a joy or concern in the chat. Thank you, please. Our spoken meditation this morning is by the Reverend Anna Bladel from Enfleshed. After this meditation, we'll have a few moments of silence. Please join me now in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Darling one, you precious mess, you exhausted, grieving, hollowed, hallowed, hallelujah of a human. Today, if even for a moment, may you feel your own beating heart, your own courageous cœur, your chest rising and falling with each breath, which is spirit, which is life force, keeping pulse, marking time, finding space. Regardless of how you are feeling, no matter what you are capable of or not, and just for a moment, may you find rest, a bit of ease, held in that sacred rhythm that cannot be without you. Because you, precious mess, have breath and heart and life force pulsing through you yet. This now is the time for our morning offering. We encourage you to think about your financial support for this church and the resources that we need to carry out our good works. We also invite you to contribute to the shared offering this month, Black Leaders and Allies Collaborative. All the cash donations and checks you so designate will support their work. Now please enjoy our offertory music.
Love changes everything, hands and faces, earth and sky. Love changes everything, how you live and how you die. Love can make the summer fly, or a night seem like a lifetime. Yes, love changes everything. Now I tremble at your name. Nothing in the world will ever be the same. Love changes everything. Days are longer, words seem more. Love can break the strongest heart. Pain is deeper than before. Love will turn your world around, and that world will last forever. Yes, love changes everything, brings you glory, brings you shame. Nothing in the world will ever be the same. into the world we go, planning futures, shaping years. Love bursts in and suddenly all our wisdom disappears. Love makes fools of everyone. All the rules we make are broken. Yes, love changes everything. Live or perish in its flame. Love will never, never let you be the same. Love will never, never let you be the same.
Thank you, George. As our ushers come forward, please join in our offertory response. Thank you for your generous gifts.
Our first reading this morning is by Carl Sagan from his book, Cosmos. Sagan wrote, "Human history can be viewed as a slowly dawning awareness that we're members of a larger group. Initially, our loyalties were to ourselves and our immediate family. Next, to bands of wandering hunter-gatherers, then to tribes, small settlements, city-states, and nations. We've broadened the circle of those we love. We've now organized what are modestly described as superpowers, which include groups of people from divergent ethnic and cultural backgrounds, working in some sense together. Surely a humanizing and character-building experience. If we're to survive, our loyalties must be broadened further to include the whole human community, the entire planet Earth. Now, many of those who run the nations will find this idea unpleasant. They'll fear the loss of power. And we'll hear much about treason and disloyalty. Rich nation-states will have to share their wealth with poor ones. But the choice is, as H.G. Wells once said in a different context, is clearly the universe or nothing.
Our second and final reading is an excerpt from the 2020 charge by the Board of the Unitarian Universalist Association to the Article 2 Study Commission. From the charge to the Commission. The Article 2 Study Commission is hereby charged to review Article 2 of the UUA bylaws and propose any revisions that will enable our UUA, our member congregations, and our covenanted communities to be a relevant and powerful force for spiritual and moral growth, healing, and justice. Proposed changes should articulate core UU theological values. The board believes that one core theological value shared widely among UUs is love. The new principles and purposes should guide us in the transformation of ourselves, our communities, and our faith into active networks of collective care, restoration, and justice. The principles and purposes you will prepare should be a living document that challenges Unitarian Universalists to place the liberation in all its dimensions of all at the center of our lives. They should be honest about our past, name what we are facing and our aspirations, and where we hope to be, not just for today, but looking out at the horizons. They should ask us to choose love in action as the path forward. Our commitment to anti-racism, anti-oppression, and multiculturalism is love in action and should be centered in any revision of Article 2. Finally, the principles and purposes should lead us into the second quarter of the 21st century, while honoring the historic roots of our liberal progressive faith. We therefore charge this commission to root its work in love as a principal guide in its work, attending particularly to the ways that we and our root traditions have understood and articulated love, and how we have acted out of love. I have been a Unitarian Universalist since I was 2 years old. That's when my parents started attending the UU congregation in Buffalo, New York. And then we later attended UU congregations in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, after we moved there when I was 5. My mother was actually the director of religious education at the First Unitarian Church of Pittsburgh when I was age about 10 to 14. My sister and I went through the whole UU religious education program, nursery through high school, and then I was a member of the church's college age group. I went to Starr King School for the Ministry in Berkeley to study to become a UU minister when I was 23 years old. Although I also attended an Episcopal youth group in my teens with my friends, and I attended a Christian Methodist Episcopal church for several years while I was in law school, I have been a Unitarian Universalist for almost 60 years, and a pretty involved one. I pay attention to our larger denominational changes, and there have been a lot over the years. We are in the midst of one right now, and I think it's an exciting time. All politics is local, it is said. And while there's some truth to that, we also know that political decisions made at the state, national, and even global level affect everyone. I'd say the same is true with religion. Though certainly most church members are most interested and involved in their local congregation, there are decisions made at the regional, national, and even international levels that can have important consequences for all of us. Unlike most other denominations who have levels of hierarchy and top-down authority throughout their systems, elders and bishops, archbishops, presbyteries, cardinals, popes, all of whom can exercise their authority over congregations, Unitarian Universalism operates under a system of congregational polity, which means the congregation, the local congregation, is the ultimate authority. Congregations can make their own bylaws, call their own ministers, decide when to organize or disband, and more. The Unitarian Universalist Association, the UUA, does not get to tell congregations what to do. It is just that, an association of member congregations. And member congregations, though, I would say, have found it pretty helpful to have the UUA as an organizing institutional structure that helps to pool resources for many things that congregations would have a harder time doing all by themselves. Credentialing ministers, developing religious education curricula, managing insurance and pension plans for religious staff, publishing journals and books, collaborating with other denominations and organizations, and more. And perhaps most importantly, helping us to collectively articulate our positions on important issues and other expressions and statements of our UU values. Congregational polity means that our governance structure is not top-down, but bottom-up. Member congregations each have delegates who can attend our annual UUA General Assembly and vote on UUA officers and board members, resolutions, bylaws, a variety of other democratically determined decisions. Where is that banner? Democratic process is one of our principles. It's not a perfect system, but it certainly offers many opportunities for involvement, input, and influence. And many UUs go about their lives quite happily paying very little attention to what is happening on the denominational level. So Axel and I were actually both raised as Unitarian Universalists, but most Unitarian Universalists were not. All right, how many of you here, raise your hand, were raised a Unitarian Universalist? All right, there's a few, but okay, we are definitely the minority. So most people who are Unitarian Universalists today grew up in households of a different faith or sometimes of no faith. I've heard many UUs over the years recount the story of why they became disenchanted with the non-UU church of their childhood. It often had to do with what seemed to be the harshness of that faith. Perhaps a teaching that unbaptized babies couldn't go to heaven, or that animals didn't have souls, or that a beloved relative or friend would be going to hell because they didn't believe correctly. I've also heard stories about people being very disillusioned by the hypocrisy of hearing one thing preached on Sunday mornings and then witnessing very contradictory behavior the rest of the week. Those of us who grew up UU had almost the opposite challenge. As a kid, I remember thinking that UUs could believe pretty much whatever they wanted. Knowing that different UUs believe different things. Some believe in God or a goddess, some don't. Some are big fans of Jesus, others try to emulate the Buddha, some are hardcore humanists, some are pagan. It was hard for me to explain to my friends what all Unitarian Universalists believed. It's often said Unitarian Universalists believe in deeds, not creeds, or that UUism is a creedless faith. Unlike a number of other religions, we don't have belief statements or creeds. We don't have the Nicene Creed or the Apostles' Creed that we recite every Sunday. We don't require people to adhere to a particular statement of belief. So what do Unitarian Universalists believe? As many of us know, there were two different religious strands, the Unitarians and the Universalists, who finally merged into one denomination in 1961. 61, wasn't that long ago. The Unitarian strand had focused historically on reason and rationality, self-reliance and conscience. They also believed in the unity rather than the Trinity of God. The Universalist strand had focused historically on a loving God who would raise all souls at the end, universal salvation. Universalists loved God and Jesus and rejected hell and damnation. You could say the Unitarians emphasized the elevation of the discerning mind, and Universalists the importance of the loving heart. Now, the Unitarians and the Universalists had tried to merge several times before they were finally successful in 1961. The original principles of the Unitarian Universalist Association, as approved at the merger in 1961, might sound a little familiar. This is what they stated in 1961. The members of the Unitarian Universalist Association, dedicated to the principles of a free faith, unite in seeking, 1, to strengthen one another in a free and disciplined search for truth as the foundation of our religious fellowship. 2, to cherish and spread the universal truths taught by the great prophets and teachers of humanity at every age and tradition, immemorially summarized in the Judeo-Christian heritage as love to God and love to man. 3, to affirm, defend, and promote the supreme worth of every human personality, the dignity of man, and the use of the democratic method in human relationships. 4, to implement our vision of one world by striving for a world community founded on ideals of brotherhood, justice, and peace. 5, to serve the needs of member churches and fellowships, to organize new churches and fellowships, and extend and strengthen liberal religion. And 6, to encourage cooperation with men of goodwill in every land. Now, these 6 principles were the result of some very heated debate at the time of merger. They were a hard-won compromise hammered out with much parliamentary procedure, wordsmithing, and debate. And I'm sure most of us would have some issues with the wording of those principles today. Already in the 1980s, those principles, approved in 1961, were viewed as in need of some revisions, not only to use more inclusive language, particularly with regard to gender, but also to capture some aspects of our evolving priorities as a faith. The recognition that traditions, in addition to just the Judeo-Christian one, are important to our heritage, and that our relation to the environment is one of our primary religious concerns. In 1985, after several years of proposals, revisions, and widespread discussions, the General Assembly approved what we commonly refer to now as the 7 principles and the 5 sources of our living tradition. A 6th source, earth-centered traditions, was added in 1995. We have the essence of these principles and sources captured on our beautiful banners created by Bob Sadler around our sanctuary, and the full text of those 7 principles and 6 sources of our living tradition are up here. Okay, so our beloved 7 principles, approved by the delegates at the 1985 General Assembly, have served us pretty well for almost 40 years, with a few tweaks here and there. And in the last several years, as many of us know, over 235 congregations, including our own, have adopted an 8th principle, addressing our evolving priority of anti-racism as a movement. So for almost 2/3 of my almost 60 years as a UU, the 7 UU principles and 6 sources have been a beloved expression of our UU faith. I like them. I have grown very attached to them. I think they have served us well. And I think it's time to revise them. Oh, I'm losing my scarf. It's important to note that the 7 or 8 principles were never meant to be viewed as a creed. They were not intended to remain static for all time. The principles are actually included, as we heard, in the Article 2 section of the UUA bylaws, which is required to be reviewed at least every 15 years. As we heard in our second reading, the UUA board charged the Article 2 Study Commission, shown here. There they are. To review Article 2 of the UUA bylaws, which includes the 7 principles and 6 sources, to review it and recommend revisions. This process has been going on actually the past several years. The Study Commission has conducted panel discussions, focus groups, interviews, surveys, and feedback sessions, receiving input from thousands of UUs. After reviewing and incorporating all the feedback on several earlier drafts, the Article 2 Study Commission just released their recommended revisions in this report. Article 2 Study Report. Yeah. Just, 2 weeks ago? Their recommendations can be seen to some as a little challenging, particularly for those UUs who have grown attached to the principles we've had for so long. But for many others in our movement, these revisions are a very welcome change. There are copies of this report in the hallway outside in the sanctuary. They're also posted on our website, and you can find them easily on the UUA website. I encourage all of you to read the recommended changes for yourself and see what you think. Congregations are encouraged to have conversations to gather input from their members to inform their General Assembly delegates. There'll be opportunities for delegates to recommend amendments to this proposal, which will be placed on the General Assembly agenda for consideration this June. The final version, including any amendments approved, must receive a simple majority vote to move forward to a final vote at the 2024 General Assembly, where it must then receive a 2/3 majority vote to be adopted as the new Article 2 of the UUA bylaws. It's a lot. It's important, but it's a lot of administrative kind of stuff. All right, I really like our gathering song this month. I love everybody. I do really like the exercise of singing it to those who are easy to love and those who are harder to love. Loving everybody is hard. And I believe it's at the center of our UU faith. It inspires our calls for justice. It infuses our religious education for our children. It calls us to our ethical high ground. It informs our relationships with each other and with the world. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's daughter, Reverend Bernice King, said, "Creating societies that prioritize justice, equity, and peace requires nonviolent, love-centered practitioners. Being love-centered helps us build the moral courage to do right." And I love the quote from Reverend Dr. Mark Sandlin, who said, "After close study, I have concluded that Jesus believed that there are two, and only two, kinds of people. One, your neighbors, whom you are supposed to love. Two, your enemies, whom you are supposed to love." Rabbi Joachim Prince, who worked alongside Reverend Dr. King, and actually Lynn Burnett spoke about him in last month's service, Rabbi Prince said, "Neighbor is not a geographic term. It is a moral concept." And as Carl Sagan told us in our first reading, we must broaden our loyalties to the whole human community, the entire planet Earth. The choice is clearly the universe or nothing. Both our minds and our hearts should be telling us that we must be concerned for, that we must love everybody, that our future, our very survival depends on it. All for one, one for all. Okay, UU Minister Reverend Dan Schatz fed the words, wait, here we are. Took all of the words from the hymns in our Singing the Living Tradition hymnal, took all the words, fed them into a word cloud generator, which indicates then the frequency of the words by their size as that it appears in the word cloud. And this is what came out. Okay. Another minister, I forget who, did the same with our teal hymnal, our supplement here, right? The Singing the Journey. And this is what came out. Okay. The Article 2 Study Commission came up with a graphic to symbolize their proposal. Love is at the center, surrounded by 6 values: interdependence and pluralism, justice and transformation, generosity and equity. And there's a lot more about each of those in this report. And here's how UU Minister Reverend Cynthia Landrum adapted the Article 2 love graphic. I like that one. Again, love at the center with those 6 values that inform our faith. I encourage you to read the report and its recommendations, talk to other people about it. We'll set aside some time in the next month or so to discuss it after church, but you should read it first. Read it first, then we can discuss it. We are part of a living tradition that evolves and changes to better reflect our current perspectives and priorities. And we still can have more influence on the outcome. As a UU adult, I now realize that my childhood perception that Unitarian Universalists can believe anything we want is not really true. I think if it doesn't have love at the center, it's not Unitarian Universalism. I also realize the attempts to capture and express our UU faith and values, the efforts to articulate what we hold in common, what motivates us, what inspires us, what calls us to action, is hard work. It's going to take all of us. Striving to love everybody is a challenging and rewarding spiritual practice. As Ray reminded us, love abounds and abides. And as little Mari said, love is powerful. There is great power in deep commitment to a community of shared values. Let us allow room for discussion, for change, for growth and evolution, keeping love at the center always. And let us continue to choose love in action as the path forward. What's love got to do with it? Everything. Amen. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing our closing hymn, Make Channels for the Streams of Love, number 299.
Make channels for the streams of love where they may broadly run, and love has overflowing streams to fill them everyone. But if at any time we cease such channels to provide, the very fountains of love for us will soon be parched and dried. For we must share if we would keep this gift all else above. We cease to give, we cease to have, such is the law of love.
Now please join in the unison words as we extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this chalice, but take its light into our lives to be the presence of love in the midst of fear, the voice of hope in the face of despair, and the hands of justice restoring a world worthy of our passion. Now please imagine taking someone's hand for our benediction. May we tread softly, speak truthfully, love gently, breathe deeply, live wisely, love powerfully, and go in peace. Please enjoy our postlude.
Somewhere far from nowhere I grew both strong and tall, longing to become the
worship service is over, but we invite you to join us in the Welcome Hall for coffee and conversation. And those on Zoom can stick around and join a breakout room. Everyone have a wonderful Sunday.